Good morning, everybody. Any day above ground, live it. I know this is an impromptu live, but I got to talk about this here. I got to talk about this. I needed to get a piece of this. I needed to get a piece of this. Family, is Africa finally waking up? Now I know we've had our struggles with the continent based on social issues. And we have yelled at them for not going to get their check for the nations that it qualifies for. But are they actually waking up? We have to ask this question. We have to figure this out. So before we start, again, good morning to everybody. When you come in, hit the like button, share it out, subscribe. We got to talk about this. I really should have put this on Rumble, but I need everybody to see this. This we must watch. Don't make it a priority, but we have to watch this. This might be we might get a little bit of a blueprint here. Okay, let's begin. Let's begin. So I heard about this on Twitter on Saturday, and I was gathering information. And I gathered some information this morning. I bookmarked some sites and I just pulled them up. Fam, this we're gonna start at Reuters. Senior Israeli diplomat ejected from African Union summit as row escalates. Addis Ababa. February 18th. A senior Israeli diplomat on Saturday was removed from the African Union's annual summit in Ethiopia as a dispute over Israel's accreditation to the bloc escalated. Images posted online show AU security personnel confronting the diplomat during the opening ceremony of the summit before she left the auditorium. Quote, Israel looks harshly upon the incident in which the Deputy Director of Africa, Ambassador Sharon Barley, was removed from the African Union Hall despite her status as an accredited observer with entrance badges. So I guess that's Sharon. Ebba Kalanda, the spokesman for the African Union's Commission chairman, said the diplomat had been removed because she was not the duly accredited Israeli ambassador in Ethiopia, the official who was expected. But Israel blamed the incident on South Africa and Algeria, two key nations in the 55 country bloc, saying that they were holding the AU hostage and were driven by, quote, hate. Israel's foreign minister said the charge d'affaires at South Africa's embassy would be summoned for a reprimand. Ooh, it might be getting spicy down there over there on the continent. Let's get it. I love it. D Shep, good morning. This is gonna be fun. I like it. Come on. Step your game up, Africa. Let's go. We got a billion people on there. Billion plus. And 90% of them are black. Come on, let's get to the show. Kick them out. Now, we're going to do this. We're going to go to Twitter. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to pull up the video of them kicking the person out. Let me see. Let me make sure this is the right one. Yes. And then we're going to watch the next one for the reason. All right. So damn. So let's share this screen. This is going to be strap in because this is fun. Fair use, by the way. Fair use. Oh, hell no. Oh, no, no, no. Can't play that. All right, say less.
AU observer status to Israel by the chair of the African Union Commission. Our objection stems from our own constitution and its values and the African Union Charter that rejects colonialism, racism, and illegal occupation of the land of others. Our concerns.
So y'all got a big problem in South Africa if you're talking about illegal occupation of others. You need to go handle down there in South Africa. And let me stop.
Substantive, and they're shared by at least 24 other African Union member states. Yes, it is true that South Africa has diplomatic relations with Israel, but this can't be used by anyone as a reason for bringing Israel into our union. Our governing party resolutions directed us to downgrade our embassy in Israel.
Talk to him. Talk to him. All right. Now, the reason why I put that slow clap in there, because as great as this is, we're watching. We're not going to be super excited about what Africa's doing yet. We need to see more tangible results. Great. Y'all got Israel up out of there. That's cool. Now y'all got to get France up out of there, England, Germany, the Netherlands, China, especially Japan. Y'all got to get them out of there. Then we can talk. But how did we get here, family? Because, you know, every story has a beginning as a chapter one. Well, this has been a year in the making. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go to the Black News Channel, aka the Griot, for this. And we're going to have to hear, you know, Mark Lemoyce Hill talk about how Israel got in with PLO leader Lumumba. Now, we all, if you know your geopolitics, especially with Black folks, you know about Lumumba. All right, Lumumba. Go ahead.
July of this year,
fair use.
Israel has gained observer status in the African Union. First of all, what do you make of that development?
First, I think on the basis that of the information that is available, it appears that the chairman of the council unilaterally decided to invite Israel to enjoy observer status without the acceptance of the member countries. That, I think, procedurally is improper. Secondly, I find no merit in Israel enjoying observer status at the African Union. And thirdly, I am puzzled why that is important at all. I do not see any value at all that is added by Israel enjoying observer status at the AU, unless there are certain subterranean political interests which are at play in this particular matter.
So we know that Israel had observer status with the Organization of African Unity.
He didn't even see the benefit of it. He saw that charter come over, like, listen, we want to give Israel observer status about what goes on over here on the home continent. That man said, "We're gonna equal up to this real shit."
Yeah, fuck that nigga talking about. Yeah, fuck that nigga talking about.
Nah, family, he ain't with it. Nope, get him out. Quatman, good morning. They've been listening to Ye. This was a year ago, so we don't know, maybe. But maybe Africa's finally waking up. Let's continue.
And that, of course, was dissolved in 2002 and replaced with the African Union. So there's a history here of Israel having this sort of role. What is the basis of that role? I understand that there's strong opposition from lots of quarters, but particularly places like South Africa. But what is the argument for why they should be there and have been historically?
I find no argument. From where I sit, remember the history of the Organization of African Unity. If you trace the history of the OAU and its founding in 1963, it was fundamentally a victory of what was called the Monrovia Group. And the Monrovia Group at that time was a grouping of African countries who were seen to have been manipulated by the French regime, led as it then was by Felix Houphouët-Boigny of La Côte d'Ivoire. And that must be seen in contradistinction to the group that was then known as the Casablanca Group, led by Kwame Nkrumah and Ahmed Ben Bella of Algeria. And this is the group that held the view that Africa needs to unite and that therefore we should have a United States of Africa. The creation of the OAU was therefore a victory of the neo-colonial project, if you may. And when it transitioned to the OAU during the new push led by individuals such as Libya's Muammar al-Gaddafi, it was also a statement that given the history of Israel as a nation that is undermining the interests of the Palestinians, they ought not to find a place at the table of an organization which has a history of the struggle for decolonization. And it's in that context that I want the objection to the presence of Israel at the AU scene.
That's an important point to make, because one of the arguments will be that exclusion of Israel is an act of anti-Semitism, that it is the only Jewish state and it is being denied observer status. And what I'm hearing you say, if I'm correct, is that it's not that the primary reason that Israel should not be a member of or have observer status is because of its treatment of the Palestinian people, and sort of how that contrasts with an organization that is birthed out of an anti-colonial political posture. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. And let us be bold about this. We know the history of Israel, but
I love it. Get some. One more time for the folk. Again, y'all just getting a smattering of applause because y'all still got a lot of people you got to expel up out of Africa. But this is a good start. Very good. This is very good. And you're representing, you're in Kenya. Kenya's a big state over there in Africa. This is good. Let's go.
Israel plays the anti-Semitism card too quickly, even when they
Say it again. Say it again, brother. Say it again.
and let us be bold about this. We know the history of Israel, but Israel plays the anti-Semitism card too quickly. But Israel plays the anti-Semitism card too quickly, right? But Israel plays the anti-Semitism card too quickly.
Jonathan Greenblatt heard that a year ago and lost his damn mind.
Quiero llorar, dude.
That happened before. Okay, say less. I don't know what that thing just did. All right, let's go back to the video. That was weird.
Even when there are other critical issues at play, there is nothing anti-Semitic in taking the position that you've got to treat other people right. if you've got to sit at a table where people are equal partners. That is the argument. Anti-Semitism is a card that is being played to make others have a sense of guilt, and is one that we should reject in this case.
Go ahead, Lumumba. Talk your stuff. Family, I'm gonna post the rest of the interview in the script in the chat box. Y'all can go watch that for yourself. Mm, mm, mm. Get some. But we not done. He ain't the only one that said something a year ago. They never want to report this stuff now, do they? He's not the only one. Tabernacle. South Africa. Now again, Lumumba's over there in Kenya. South Africa said, yeah, we gotta talk. Give us our shot to say something. Fair use.
Top story this hour. South Africa has objected to last week's decision by the African Union Commission to grant Israel official observer status at the Continental Organization. The AU handed Israel the observer status on Thursday in a move that two parties believe will enable Israel to help the AU battle the coronavirus pandemic and terrorism on the continent. Well, for more on this now, let's bring in CGTN's Angelo Coppola in Johannesburg, as well as Thembi Sefakude, a senior research fellow at Africa-Asia Dialogues. Let's start with you, Angelo. South Africa, of course, has not minced its words in response to this decision by the AU Commission, calling it incomprehensible, saying that it is appalled and shocked. Tell us more about South Africa's objection.
All right. I say tabernacle because for two reasons. One, I heard the battle rapper Loaded Luck say it years ago when he battled Calico, and it always tickled me to death. Because he said that before he put a picture of that young man skinny dipping allegedly with females, but nobody saw females. So that always tickled me to death. But also, growing up in church, my mama's favorite church before she went to the one that she's at now was called Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir. And she always got their gospel CDs. And I distinctly remember the second song off that CD, the guy came in and said, "Welcome to the Tabernacle." Everybody went nuts. So that always stuck with me. And then the music came in. So that's why I say tabernacle. Because I need everybody to, it's a call to everybody to come observe what I'm about to show you. You're about to get a lesson. You're about to hear a good word. So here we go. Why is this man got a scarf on? But I'm not even going to knock it. Bet you it's Burberry. Not even going to knock it.
And whether or not the country has formally raised this matter with the AU Commission.
You're on.
Well, Lindy, Claes Monyela, the spokesperson for the Department of International Relations and Cooperation here in South Africa, says that the SA or South African government view is that Israel continues to illegally occupy Palestine in complete defiance of its international obligations and relevant UN resolutions. According to Monyela, South Africa, in fact, firmly believes that as long as Israel is not willing to negotiate a peace plan without preconditions, it should not have that observer status at the AU. He went on to say that it's, as you said, incomprehensible that the AU Commission chooses to reward Israel at a time when its oppression, as he put it, of the Palestinians has been demonstrably more brutal, added to which, of course, the AU has strenuously objected to the deaths of Palestinians and the destruction of civil infrastructure in that area. So the decision by the AU, according to Monyela, in this context is even more inexplicable. The South African government has asked the chairperson of the commission to provide a briefing to all member states on this decision. Monyela says that he hopes that the decision will actually be discussed by the Executive Council and the Assembly of Heads of State and Government. And he told us that a date hadn't yet been fixed yet. Lindy?
Well, let's bring in someone now who understands the inner workings of the African Union. Our Ethiopia correspondent, Girum Chala, now joins us from Addis. Girum, first of all, just explain to us whether or not there are, in fact, other countries around the world that have observer status within the AU. How does this all work? And can a decision like the one regarding Israel, can it be reversed?
So, Lindy, first of all, the African Union Commission has a mandate to accept any application by a country or entity to have an observer status in its operations, including the summit itself. When it comes to the issue of Israel, by the way, Israel so far has been submitting applications of observation status twice before, and they were both rejected. But this third time, it has got a chance of being accepted as an observer, official observer for the African Union operations. Now, you should understand that the Commission, although it has a mandate to accept or reject observer requests by nations or entities, it is also understandable that the African Union Summit, the 8th of State Summit, or the Executive Council is the one that has a power to perhaps reject or accept at the end of the day. So this decision of accepting Israel can be changed when the Heads of State first come together, and a request by South Africa can be given to the Commission so that this can be taken as an agenda, and it can be changed. There is nothing that the African Union Commission can do on its own without consultation at the end of the day with the summit, because this is a body that is going to handle operations of the union, but the union, the bigger body, is the one that must decide at the end of the day. So the dissatisfaction, the concern by South Africa can be addressed at the end of the day as a member state of the nation by bringing this into the attention of the Commission or even the union when the assembly comes together, Lindy.
So, third time lucky then for Israel with this particular application. But what does this mean for the African Union? For some analysis, let's now turn to Tembisa Fakude in Johannesburg. Tembisa, of course, South Africa making a valid moral or ethical point with regards to its objection. But what are the practical implications, if any, of Israel having observer status within the AU? Is this a bigger deal, as South Africa would have us believe?
Well, this might just end up as an own goal for Israel, because if the decision is overturned, it will be extremely embarrassing for Israel moving forward.
And
but we also need to understand that the observer status will give Israel proximity to the countries or members of the African Union, enabling, therefore, Israel to push forward its own agenda. And that is, for South Africa, very troubling. So we might just see Israel actually getting very embarrassed as a result of this, because this decision apparently was not consultative. In other words, not all member states were part and parcel of this decision. And chances are, therefore, if the decision is not reversed, it might just create tensions within the African Union. But it is a move that Israel has always attempted to do, because they want to get closer to action. They want to get closer to the member states so that they can lobby each and every one of them with an intention of ensuring that the decisions that are taken or decisions that are made by the African Union do favor Israel. So I think it's going to be Israel's own goal, and Israel might just end up being embarrassed by the decision if it is indeed reversed.
Oh, we'll have to watch.
This is getting spicy, folks. This is getting very spicy. This is getting very spicy. I like it though. Stand up for yourselves one time. So, let's get a little bit of history before we go into the present day. Now, we've heard from the Africans. Let's hear from a Jewish person. Tabernacle. Now, this is an interview on Richard Melhurst's channel. Let's hear what a Jewish man has to say about Israel and their status at the AU. Now, mind you, again, these videos that I've showed you, these were a year ago.
Support for cover. New states, especially states of color, especially states that traditionally one would think would be opposed because they have a history of genocide, of European colonial projects. So Israel is looking to develop this cheering section, this rubber stamp, this group, particularly in the African continent, the continent of people of color, Black women and men largely, certainly all of color, to support them. So that when the debate develops about Israeli racism, about its supremacist policies, about its hatred towards people of color, about its support for European colonial projects, about it being one, it gets to point to Africa. And it gets to say, what are you talking about? We've got the support of the African Union. When it comes down to key votes over whether a committee in the United Nations will go one way or another way in terms of potential sanctions, in terms of suspending Israel's rights or ability to continue in a particular committee, they can look to Africa. This is all part of the grand Israeli propaganda scheme. But yet, on the other hand, it also provides some cover for those African nations, individual African nations that have been getting political heat and flashback for the close economic relationship with Israel. So it furthers the ability of Israel to sell billions and more. We now know, recently it's been exposed that Israel has this enormous surveillance technology that it's been selling to African states of despotic regimes.
Wow.
We know it.
Well, that I did not know. I did not know this. That might have to go into my discussion on Israel that I do on Rumble. Thank you, sir. I will look into that. Thank you so much. Continue.
It provides a launch pad to push back against South Africa and other historically independent states that have fought against the kind of apartheid, the kind of racism, the kind of hate, the kind of European colonial project that is Israel. So from a standpoint of propaganda, it's a win. From a standpoint of building in support for its economic, its military, and its political agenda, it's a win. And for the standpoint of garnering support from people of color, from a continent of color, the next time it knocks over schools, it destroys residential towers, it attacks hospitals in Gaza, it can look and say, what are you talking about? It's an extension. It's everything the Abraham Accords introduced but really couldn't produce. The fact that the AU, the fact that Bahrain, the fact that one day Saudi Arabia may be able to, or now Egypt, fly their airplanes directly to Tel Aviv is nothing compared to the ability of Israel to break bread with the African continent. And in violation of its history, in violation of, when you look at the constitutions of most, especially the large, not all, but most of the African states, when you look at their constitutions, they are built upon the antithesis of what Israel is. They speak in glaring, wonderful, broad, empowering terms of human rights, of social justice, of self-determination, of liberty, of racial and religious freedom from the tyranny of this controlled environment. You look at these constitutions, and then you see the African Union saying, we welcome you, at least the executive director of the African Union saying, come to us, we're friends. It's an outrage. And it's not so different than what I think you're seeing in Bahrain, where millions of people are saying, no, we don't support you. In Morocco, where the government is supporting Israel, but the people are opposed to it. In other places where the government is breaking bread with them, but the people are opposed to it. So it is this continued marriage of one despotic regime with other despotic regimes for mutual benefit for both.
Damn. He broke it all the way down. Sandy, good morning. You seem new. Welcome. If Israel's giving African countries spy technology, that technology is spying on Africans for Israel, US, and Europe is a Trojan horse. Yeah, we know Africa loves them some gifts, but according to, I don't know if you came in after I played the 2 videos, but they're not with this. Lumumba over there in Kenya ain't with it. South Africa wasn't with it from day one. What Israel did was they preyed on the smaller nations and Ethiopia to get their charter of observer status in, because they knew countries like Nigeria, Egypt, especially South Africa, Algeria, they were not going to let them get in. Black Light Revelations, good morning. Everybody knows them folks, how them folks get down. Yep. Yep. But Stanley got a little bit more to say.
Together again in another week, in less than a week. It is also part of challenges to Israel in various states in Africa under universal jurisdiction, where there are lawsuits for crimes against humanity and for war crimes, and where Israeli political leaders and military leaders can't travel lest they be possibly arrested or lest property be seized. Our strategy itself is to bring before the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which is an overseeing entity, an organization which was designed under the African Union and its predecessor to act as a referee, to act as a board of oversight, to deal with conflicts within the African Union, to provide a vehicle to challenge activities of one state versus another. For example, in 2014, I was part of a team of lawyers that brought an action in the African Union against Egypt for its refusal during the Israeli attack to open the Rafah border to let refugees under siege and under slaughter escape into Egypt. So it is an instrument that provides binding law, which serves as a mediator or conflict resolver, but it also provides advisory opinions. And at this point, we're seeking what amounts to an advisory opinion. We have 2 entities, one a national media, an international media outlet that's bottom largely in the African continent, and 2, we have a Palestinian Solidarity Organization in South Africa that are actually our clients. They're the complainants. They approached us and said, look, we have standing because we're recognized by the commission to bring an action that, among other things that we're now seeking, is one, discovery, which says, okay, we want the documents, we want the information, we want depositions, we want discussions, we want to interview, we want to question those people that played a role in this decision making so that the truth is fleshed out. We're seeking oral argument, and we're inviting Israel to participate in oral argument. They'll never do it. What Israel will say is, we can't do that because it's recognizing its jurisdiction. So we have affirmatively stated, we will not argue later if you join an oral argument that you're ceding jurisdiction. So they can't use that as an excuse. We're seeking.
Black Light Revelation said, dude talking right now is one of those folks I can hear this. Yeah, he is, but he's against Israel. He knows how they get down. So he's willing to talk about it. That's why I'm playing it. And also the dude who runs that channel, Richard Menhurst, I've heard that name before, and he's also against a lot of what Israel does. D-Shep, K-Gravity, I appreciate this content. I won't hear this nowhere else. Thank you, Black Grassroots. Yeah, I try. I'm sure they'll probably take this down soon. It's all good, though. It's on Twitter, so if they take it down off YouTube, it'll be on Twitter and Facebook. I should have really put it on Rumble, but we'll save the. I'll clip it up. I'll download it later, clip it up, and then use it for my dissection of Israel next month. That's going to be a fun show. But yeah, keep going, Stanley. We got a little bit more.
Seeking an interim stay, which in essence is the commission saying to the African Union, until this is resolved, until we take our position, until we render our verdict on this, we freeze Israel's observer status. They can't participate in any way. Ultimately, we're seeking an order, in essence, that says, no, this is not right. This human rights violator, this European colonial project, this system of apartheid cannot break bread with the African continent and should not be permitted. Now, there are other strategies underway. There's a lot of discussion. There's a petition drive underway. Dawn has brought a separate action directly in front of the African Union itself, which is seeking a revisit, but they're going to be revisiting this anyway in another week. So this is part of a collective strategy to put as much pressure, both political, both legal, both administratively, on Israel and those few individuals in the African Union that allowed this to happen. My understanding is we're now up to about 24 members of the African Union of the 54 or 55 states, which means we don't need that many more to reverse the decision legislatively, and I would hope that may happen. We're in communication with various states and organizations within the African Union itself about this. We are planning to submit a supplemental application for relief in the next week to 2 weeks. Now that we have more information about how this happened, who brought it about, and why, we're going to name particular individuals and seek depositions from them rather than generic requests. So it's part of a broad strategy. It involves, obviously, myself from the United States. It involves an attorney from Belgium who's also involved in the litigation at the ICC. It involves an attorney from Belfast, Ireland. It involves a number of South African lawyers, including one who's now stationed in Lebanon. It involves researchers from all over the world. So it really is a collective move by lawyers, by researchers, by activists to say, look, you can't, in the face of, and by the way, what we did in this submission is we have a dozen or so first party affidavits, complaints, declarations from victims of the most recent Israeli assault, the murder, the bombing, the destruction in Gaza just this past May. So our position is, in 2021, this is an obscenity. In 2021, when most of the world with open eyes and good heart looks at what's going on in Palestine and says, apartheid, 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 hatred, war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide. You cannot, as a continent that has withstood 150 years of even worse conduct, or not worse, but the same kind of European colonial violence, apartheid, hatred, resource theft. You cannot welcome Israel. You cannot give a privilege to a war criminal. That's the strategy.
Sandy said Israel's bombing Syria as they're being hammered by earthquakes, and the U.S. is blocking humanitarian aid. Why does the AU need him to settle disputes? I don't trust none of them. Well, this was a year ago, so I don't know what his position is right now. I'm going to do some research on this man. But he said the right things. You can't give status to someone who is seen on the world stage as a war criminal. Same thing with the U.S. That's why they don't have so much of a foothold in Africa. They only have one base in Africa. They understand what American colonialism and imperialism does. Sister Shay, good morning. This is great news. Now, again, this was a year ago, folks. So let's go to present day. The African Union had their summit, and they formally asked the Israeli observer to leave. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Tabernacle. Via the Africa Report, Monday the 13th, Africa and Israel, disunity at the African Union. With Israel regaining, I got to pay, screw you. With Israel regaining its observer status at the AU, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu intends to consolidate relations with the continent. This will also be one of Foreign Minister Eli Cohen's main missions. Eli Cohen. He's also on the outline list for my dissection of Israel. But yeah, we're going to move on. I did not know I had to pay for that one. So we'll go to this. No, we'll go to this. Israel condemns the expulsion of its diplomat from African Union summit. Israel on Saturday condemned the severe expulsion of a senior diplomat from the African Union summit, accusing archfoe Iran of orchestrating the move with help from Algeria and South Africa. So now Israel might be getting pissed. Hey, like to see a little saber rattling every now and again. A video circulating on social media shows guards escorting the Israeli foreign minister's deputy director general for Africa, Sharon Barley, out of the AU assembly taking place in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. Addis Ababa, that's what they call it. A spokesman for the Israeli foreign minister described the incident as severe, noting Barley was an accredited observer with an entry tag, a claim denied by an AU official. So they out there falsifying credentials. Is that what they're doing over there? All right. The ministry spokesman said it was saddened to see the African Union taken hostage by a small number of extremist states like Algeria and South Africa. Oh, really? Now all of a sudden, South Africa is an extremist state. We've always told you on this platform, y'all got to watch how the media spins things and how evil they can be. Now, all of a sudden, South Africa, one of the biggest countries in the world, now they're an extremist. All right. Which are driven by hatred and controlled by Iran. So South Africa, they're basically saying is controlled by Iran. Boy, African states should, quote, oppose these actions which harm the African Union movement and the entire continent, the spokesman added. I don't think so. See, this is a continental African problem. They need to handle it as continental Africans. And they've been handling it. Now, again, we're giving them observer status over here with no charter. We're watching them. We're not going to get involved, but we're going to watch how they move, because the way they move in this will go a long way in the future when they want to break bread. And how the people that represent us over here in the West choose to deal with them. This is good. An AU official told AFP that the diplomat who was asked to leave had not been invited to attend the meeting, with a non-transferable invitation only issued to Israel's ambassador to the African Union, Aleli Admasu. Quote, it is regrettable that the individual in question would abuse such a courtesy, the official said. Asked about Israel's accusations that South Africa and Algeria were behind the move, Vincent Magwenya, spokesman for South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, told AFP at the summit they must substantiate their claim. They said, you better bring us the receipts. Israel attained observer status at the AU in 2021 after decades of diplomatic efforts drawn protests from powerful members, including South Africa and Algeria, which argued that it flew in the face of AU statements supporting the Palestinians. Mm. Right. And they also forgot to say that they wouldn't even bring Haiti in. They told Haiti no, because you're not on the continent. Israel's not on the continent, but they were granted observer status. Last year, unease flared over the accreditation of Israel as an observer as the AU, with the Palestinians, who also have an observer status at the body, urging it to be withdrawn. The 2022 summit suspended a debate on whether to withdraw the accreditation, and a committee was formed to address the issue. The row erupted when Moussa Faki Mohammed, head of the African Union Commission, accepted Israel's accreditation, triggering a rare dispute within a body that values consensus. The AU has not said whether Israel's status will be up for discussion at this year's summit. Israel previously held observer status at the Organization of African Union, which preceded the African Union, but was long thwarted in its attempts to get it back after the OAU was disbanded in 2002 and replaced by the AU. So there you go. I like it. Keep going. I like it. I like it a lot. Stand up for yourselves. Took y'all long enough. Here we go. African Union summit expels Israeli diplomat. The Deputy Director of African Affairs, Ambassador Sharon Barley, was expelled from the meeting room of the 36th Ordinary Session of the African Union Summit. According to the African Union, the Israeli diplomat was taken out of the hall because she was not the Israeli ambassador accredited to Ethiopia, the official who was expected to attend. In turn, Israel confirmed that Barley was placed as an accredited observer and received badges to attend the meeting. The Israeli Minister of Foreign Affairs said that the country seriously considers the expulsion of the Deputy Director of African Affairs, indicating that it holds South Africa and Algeria responsible for this incident. I wonder if they're going to call up Biden and tell him to get back that $55 billion you gave over there. I wonder if they're going to do that. The development comes at a time when Israel's waiting to obtain the title of an observer in the union, and the union has not yet responded to the request. They're not even picking up the phone. I like it. In 2021, they said straight to voicemail. In 2021, Moussa Faki, chairman of the African Union Commission, agreed unilaterally and without consulting the member states of the union to accredit Israel as an observer, which is said to have sparked a dispute within the organization. Last year, the African Union decided to suspend Israel's membership decision, and a committee was formed, headed by Algeria and South Africa, to decide whether or not to grant Israel accreditation as an observer. The ruling party in South Africa has historically been a strong supporter of the Palestinian cause, and the union's agreement to grant Israel observer status may conflict with its supportive positions for the Palestinians. Israel considers that the attempt to abolish its observer status has no basis in the organization's laws. When Israeli diplomat was expelled, Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Sataya delivered a speech from the podium of the opening session of the summit. He stressed that inviting Palestine to attend the summit is a message of solidarity with the, quote, inalienable Palestinian rights. They mad. They mad. That ambassador said this. They mad. They mad. I like it though. Hey, Africa. Way to wake up. Very good. This is good. I'm glad y'all are waking up. There's no reason why Israel should be there. But we know why they're there. The unlimited resources that they're trying to make limited now. They want their hand on it. Nah, can't have that. You got babies and the next generations. They need to understand what Africa is and what it is and what it's about and its history. Y'all got enough people running from it. You need to cultivate people there to run the next generations. This is good. Have some pride. This is good. I like it. This is beautiful. I'll even, before we get out of here, family, I will bless them. They will get blessed. They have been blessed. I like it. We're not going to go too hard for them again. We're not going to go too hard because we know how Africa like to do 180s every now and again. Okay, I tell a lie. They like to do it every time they make a good decision. But maybe some of them finally found their sack. So this is good. We will keep an eye on this. I just wanted to bring you this quick live because this, I had to finally talk about this. And I know YouTube ain't gonna like it. They're not gonna let me monetize it. I know. It's okay. Y'all need this information. So enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Stay safe out there. And y'all know what to do when the agitators of peace try to mess up your day.